Hey everybody, ABC 10 meteorologist Brenden Mincheff here. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I don't think we've done one since before Christmas, but the weather has finally cleared up. It's quiet again, so it's time for a drought update, and a lot has changed since before Christmas in terms of our drought. Taking a look at the month of January, 7.54 inches of rain has fallen so far in downtown Sacramento. The average to date is about 2.7 inches, which means we're nearly 5 inches above where we normally are for January. That's only counting January. When we look at the season, October 1st to September 30th, so far 18.22 inches. That's more than all of the rain we saw last water year. Average to date is almost 9 inches, which means we are over 9 inches to where we normally are to this point in the year. So this is good. We're on the positives, both on the month and for the water year as a whole. Still pretty early, though. Water year started October 1st, coming up on the end of January. Still some wet season to go, but this can't be the end, right? We can't just turn the taps off and call it good. We're going to need some more water to fall. But it's not just Sacramento that's doing well. It's Stockton, it's Fresno, it's San Francisco, it's South Lake Tahoe. Basically, the entire state of California right now is on the plus side when it comes to precipitation. Look, even Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, San Diego, all doing well in terms of their water for the season. Now looking at departures from normal, blue is good, yellow bad. Palm Springs only a 1/10 of an inch below where they normally are. Los Angeles about 5 inches above. San Diego 3 inches above. Santa Barbara 7 inches above. Stockton 9 inches to the good. San Francisco almost 11 inches to the good. South Lake Tahoe almost a foot in terms of liquid water more than what they normally see to this point in the year, on the water year, that is. Redding, Eureka also doing well so far. So lots of blue here, signifying numbers are doing good. We want that to continue as we finish off the wet season. Still a couple more months to go at least in our wet season, but we need that again. We need that rain to keep falling, because when it gets dry in California, it gets very dry in California. The month of January has been very wet at anything but dry. Only a few days. You see that there in the red or orange colors are those dry days. Every other day this month in green, we've had some rainfall. The rainiest day was January 9th when we had 1.3 inches fall downtown Sacramento. Again, that total for the month is in that 7-inch range. The average to date is 2.7 inches. So this is very good. It's done a lot of good for us. We are entering a bit of a dry stretch now as we finish off the month of January. But looking 8 to 14 days ahead, that would be January 29th to February 4th. The Climate Prediction Center says it'll likely be cooler for the West Coast than average in terms of temperature. Also will likely be wetter than average as we go end of January, start of February. That green color signifying, of course, likely wetter. That's good news. That means this dry pattern won't stick around for too long, just a couple of weeks or so. And indeed, when you start to look out about 2 weeks on those weather models, you start to see some rain starting to move in, and that high pressure that's been blocking us now and will continue to do so over the next week, that high pressure kind of starts to move on out of the way, allowing that door to reopen for some more rain. So we're not done yet. Well, I think we'll actually have a couple more days in January with some measurable rainfall, and we'll see how February starts as well. But right now, just a temporary dry stretch, but the rain that we've gotten has done a lot of good for our drought. So the latest drought monitor, abnormally dry, the lowest level drought, that yellow color. We see a few pockets down in Southern California and then also up on the very north coast here. That's 7% of the state, most of the state in that moderate drought category, this kind of tan, beige, orange color here. Doesn't quite include Sacramento, right on that cusp between the moderate and severe drought, which is still 42% of the state. Let's take a little bit closer of a look. We'll kind of zoom in a little bit now, just kind of go around the state in terms of our drought. Take a closer look, see how things are doing, because we've seen a lot of improvement. Lots of different. Southern California looking pretty good. Again, you saw that abnormally dry down here in the yellow. Even Los Angeles to the north, seeing some yellow there. That abnormally dry area, still drought, but it is the lowest level. As we work up in towards Northern California, you see those beige colors, those orange colors. That is that moderate to severe drought category, but you don't see any red on the map, not even up at the very far point, which is where we had just 0.3% of the state still in that extreme drought category. But no extreme drought, no exceptional drought anymore. But we do still have that severe drought in the Sacramento Valley. So again, we need the rain. We need more, but we've had it's a good break, because we've had a lot and we've had it all in a short amount of time. So the break is nice, but we do need more. Can't stress that enough. We're not out of the drought just yet. A lot more work still to be done, but state of California is looking a lot better now than it was this time 1 month ago. So positives to be taken away from that. Starting with the water year, this is what the drought looked like. You can see that big pocket there of that exceptional drought category. That was 17% of the state. And again, that is all gone now with significant improvement in the San Joaquin valleys and really all across the state. We've seen significant improvement, and that's good. Not done yet, more to go. But let's talk about our snowpack now. This was updated January 20th. So the Northern Sierra, 197% of average to date, 246% of average to date for the Central Sierra, and 283% of average to date for the Southern Sierra. More importantly, the number we really want to look at is that percent of April 1st average. April 1st is typically when that snowpack is at its highest, it's at its greatest. So when we start to talk about how we're doing really on the season as we work through the wet months, that percent of April 1st average, that's that key number. And there's good news to report there too. Northern Sierra, 102% of April 1st average. Central Sierra, 130% of April 1st average, and 149% of April 1st average for the Southern Sierra. So we're all above average, really, no matter how you look at it right now. Statewide average to date, 240%, and that percent of April 1st average, 126% for the state snowpack as a whole. That is some really good news. And as long as we don't have a big warm spell, we don't have a lot of rain events as we go through February, March, and into April, we're going to keep that snowpack as we go into those drier months. Our reservoirs now updated January 21st. Shasta now over 50% capacity. Same deal in Oroville, 61% capacity at Oroville. In fact, Oroville is now 108% of its average to date. That is good news. On the plus side, Shasta still has a little work to do, 86% of average. Folsom, though, a lot has been made of Folsom. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. It's at 123% of average, and the capacity is at 55%. So we're doing well in all of our reservoirs. Trinity, though, needs some more rain. This is one of the big reasons why, when you take a look at the state as a whole, and especially the Sacramento River watershed, that Trinity numbers are kind of weighing it down a little bit. So average to date is only about 50% for Trinity, and the capacity is only 30%. That's where that water line is right there. It obviously has come up. You can see how much it's made in the month of January, but this is the average line here, and this is where it actually is right now. So there's still a ways to go, especially for Trinity Lake up there in far northern California. Shasta, though, one of the big ones that really needed that rain as well. Shasta got a lot of it. You can see where it was as we worked through October, November, December, and then January hit, and look at all that rain. It is filling up nice. Capacity 54%, and again, it's at 86% of its average to date. So there's average for right now, and there's where it is. So we're doing good at Shasta, too. Let's talk a little closer to home, talking about Folsom Lake, 123% of the average to date at 55% capacity. You can see that average line there, and you can see this blue line signifying the water levels. A lot has been made of Folsom because it filled up. We got a lot of rain. You can see that. Look at how quickly it filled up with those New Year's storms, and then every storm we had after that. They had to let some of that water out because Folsom is used primarily, number one, for flood control, not water storage. The primary charge of Folsom Dam and Folsom Lake is to help minimize and mitigate flooding downstream. Downstream is Sacramento, so it's a big deal. That is the primary reason Folsom exists. It does help to serve our water capacity, our water storage. It also helps to generate electricity via hydropower. It does also have ecological uses as well. But all of those are secondary to protecting Sacramento and downstream areas from flooding. That's why they had to release that water out. They went too far above the average. They went too much for too early in the season in terms of rainfall that water had to be released. It's starting to come back up again. You can see they're putting water back in as we're entering a drier stretch. And that's all part of what the dam operators at Folsom do. We spoke to Drew Lessard with the Bureau of Reclamation, who works up at Folsom. He had a lot to say, and he answered a lot of our frequently asked questions about Folsom. So take a look. I think you'll find this really interesting.
Flood protection is what I would typically say is first among equal for project purposes. It is the public safety aspect of why we're here, and we need to make sure that we deliver that for certain, and then as we can deliver the other project purposes.
In the middle of the drought, it's probably not the best optics to be releasing a lot of water, but flood control is Folsom's first priority and most important mission.
when the New Year storm hit, or the New Year's Eve storm hit, and we got a huge inflow on New Year's Day, we encroached in the flood control space, which tells us that we have to make releases to evacuate that flood control space for the next storm that's coming in. And at the time, we were seeing floods, or at least storm events, stacking up all the way to the 17th of January. So we couldn't really sit on that. We had to evacuate it. So we went right back down to the flood control curve, the minimum that we could provide. And then we looked at the following events that occurred over the last week now, and we were able to pass those safely with not having to go up too high in releases. And now we're encroached, and we're releasing about 10,000 cubic feet per second, which, if you want to consider cubic foot, is a basketball, about the size of a basketball. And we're kind of ebbing to where we're starting to lower the reservoir elevation, and we're getting back to that flood control curve.
In 2017, Folsom updated its water control manual to coincide with its new auxiliary spillway. With it, the operators are allowed to hold more water than the previous manual by looking at incoming storm forecasts.
It looks at various forecasts, the 120-hour forecasts, and various other ones all the way up to the 24-hour forecast. And if any one of those is critical, in other words, it's of a magnitude that warrants us to reduce the reservoir elevation, we will go ahead and make releases in advance of that storm to make sure we have enough space when that storm hits. Our operators are always trying to balance all of those competing interests that we have with managing a reservoir like this. So obviously, if we take a look at the forecast and we feel that we could maybe keep things a little higher, especially near the end of the spring when we're moving into summer, we'll try to maximize what we can get storage at the end of May for water supply, power, all of those other project purposes. But they cannot take a risk. If there's a public safety concern, they're going to evacuate and get prepared for that next storm.
The decision to release water is not made alone, however. The Bureau of Reclamation works closely with other partners across the state to manage the timing and the amount of water going downstream.
Reclamation is part of a flood operations center that includes Reclamation, National Weather Service, Department of Water Resources, who manages Oroville, and the Corps of Engineers. They get to get together daily during flood season to say, all right, can we hold back here because we've got a big inflow on this dam that we have to clear. And so they're coordinating all of those things pretty much throughout the flood season. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to see it, is Shasta and Oroville are not filled right yet and are not encroaching, so there's no need to really worry about that.
As far as the future looks, the snowpack holds a lot of promise.
We're about 200% of average snowpack in this watershed, so that's great. That's wonderful news. What we want to see as we go through this is keep adding to it a little bit, keep the precipitation coming at a moderate rate, and allow it to just naturally melt in that end of April through May timeframe so we can fill up. And that's kind of what we're looking for.
But as things stand now, Drew is feeling pretty good about our water situation. From the snowpack to the state of our big reservoirs up north, and especially Shasta, things are looking up.
Really, with the CVP, it's all about Shasta. If we can fill Shasta, then we'll manage. Folsom doesn't necessarily help the bigger picture so much. So what's really good is Shasta is forecast to get pretty full this year, which it hasn't in the last 3 or so years. So I think you add that, probably a similar scenario at Oroville, plus us probably filling this year, it's good news for the CVP. Now, are we technically out of the drought yet? No, and we still have several months to see this thing through, but it looks promising at this point.